Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Wolverine number 41, cover dated early July 1991. And so the comic has just begun coming out twice a month, every fortnight in the summer of 1991. It's the only X title to do so at the time. This particular story features the first appearance of Sabretooth since issue 10 of Wolverine solo series, and indeed the story inside references the content of issue 10 as well. And also we see up here the guest star Cable, and it's a pretty weird position that he's in there up on top of that pipe. And also the perspective on his head there, his head looks tiny, like a little baby head. If you examine that in high definition, or if you've got your own copy, you'll see that it's quite a strange pose and strange drawing from Silvestri for Cable, very un-Cable-like, but clearly because Marc was trying to squeeze Cable into the composition. And as per usual, the composition all done freehand by Marc Silvestri, no straight lines ruled, everything done by eye and freehand, as I said. It's a dynamic cover, and our eyes and attention are drawn most particularly to the fight here in the foreground between a very feral, bestial, ferocious looking Sabretooth and Wolverine. And there's a little color error there as well. We can see that Sabretooth's pointed ear, so he's got these cat-like ears, is miscolored there. It's kind of orange colored in with the rest of his hair, but he really does look bestial with that big snout and those fangs and that pointed ear, and his claws, the claws on his hand as well. I like the twisting of his torso too. And the cover inked, of course, by Dan Green. So let's open this one up to the first page. We do get a splash page. This would have been a simple one to draw, a quick and simple one to draw. Part of the challenge of having the book come out every fortnight is for Marc Silvestri to keep this thing coming out on time without going to the requirement for a guest artist. And one of the things that we have done aside, that Silvestri's done, aside from having this simple splash page, is we only get 18 pages of story in this issue. And in addition to that, we get a 2-page poster by Mike Mignola and a 1-page pin-up by Art Bear. So those will come later in the issue, but only 18 pages of story. Title of the story is down in the bottoms. It's part 1 of 2, really a 2-parter, but that bleeds into the into issue 43 as well. And the creative team here down the bottom: Larry Hama script, Marc Silvestri pencils, Dan Green inks, Pat Brousseau letters, and Glynis Oliver on the colors. So we've got Forge and Jubilee. This picks up immediately from the end of the previous issue. They've dived into the East River and they're swimming down to the wreck of the stealth bomber to see if they can locate Logan. So we have Logan's first person narration here. The last I remember, he says, I was trading claw slashes with Albert the Franken clone in a stealth bomber when we got jumped by F-16s and got shot full of 20 millimeter cannon holes. The East River was coming up at us way too fast, and that's when the continuity goes fuzzy. So let's continue then. This is a really nice page here. Great spawning of blacks on the page. Great coloring. These underwater dark greens and purples, these cool colors chosen by Glynis Oliver suit perfectly the environment of the scene. We've got Forge here swimming past the body of Albert, the robotic clone or doppelganger of Wolverine. We can see him there. He looks defunct. Jubilee, that look of horror on her face as she swims past him too. And then in the cabin of the stealth bomber, Forge sees that the ejection lever has been pulled, and that's an indication that Wolverine got out of there. Jubilee's knocking on the window, giving him the thumbs up, and both of them swim up away from the wreckage of the bomber. But who they don't see there is LCD and Logan. So Forge says no sign of any other bodies down there, and one ejection seat is gone. That's a good sign, Jubilee. But Jubilee's upset because, of course, you know, she's concerned for Wolverine and his well-being. The police arrive here. Again, I like Silvestri's choice here to put everything in silhouette except for little details of their boat, including, of course, the police signage there. They're brought aboard. They're given blankets to warm up after their time in the freezing cold of the East River. And the police are going to dock. And the reason is, as this officer explains, we got the mother of all storms roaring into town right now. And if we don't snub up to the dock right quick, we're floundering. I can't risk my crew for... And he was about to say someone who's likely dead. Jubilee fills in. But this is nice story continuity here, because the storm was established in the previous issue. So it's not a sudden storm. It's established since then. So really tight plotting from Larry Hama here. We also have Sign of the Times, a view of the Twin Towers, because we're down the southern tip of Manhattan Island in the story. Forge here says to Jubilee, the ejection seat being gone, he's trying to console her, means that Wolverine got out of the stealth bomber before it crashed. If he did, he had a good chance. And Jubilee, of course, concerned that Forge isn't giving up, and he tells her, he's giving her his word that he is not going to give up on the search. And then the scene switches to, as we learn here, the South Street outlet. So again, down the southern tip of Manhattan Island. And who do we see here except for LCD? So LCD strapped Wolverine into the ejection seat in the previous issue, and she's carting him unconscious into the storm drain outlet, and she's trying to get his heart beating again. She's done it before, and she's afraid to be left alone because her only two friends in the world are Albert, and he's gone apparently, and Wolverine now. So she says, got to get real help, got to find my way out of here, got to get somebody to jumpstart Logan before his memory crashes. So of course her whole kind of way of relating to Logan is by virtue of her kind of computer existence. So she uses that type of terminology, and off she runs down the outlet. And who wakes up at just that moment except for Logan? And in his first person narration, we learn past and future are meeting like a train wreck. Fantasy and reality doing the Spanish fandango on top of my skull. If I stagger to the bathroom mirror and open my eyes, whose face will I see? In my pain, in my need, whose name will I call out? And then this is the really interesting part for long-time readers of this title. He calls out for Silver Fox. And the story of his mysterious past concerning his relationship with Silver Fox was written and explored in Wolverine number 10 by Chris Claremont and John Buscema, inked by Bill Sienkiewicz. That was a memorable issue, and it's one that is fairly costly on the back issue market, because at this time period, very prized were any hints, any clues as regards Wolverine's mysterious past. Remember also in the summer of 1991, Marvel Comics Presents is coming out, issues 72 to 84. That is Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X storyline, and which you can find reviews of here on the channel. So all X-Men fans and Wolverine fans very interested in any little clues they might get as regards Wolverine's mysterious past at this time. And that's what we're going to get in this issue. And it's why this particular issue quickly went into a second printing. So Wolverine is pulling himself up out of the water. I like the little detail of the little rats here watching him. And in his first person narration, he remembers back to the events of issue number 10, which were in the past. It's my birthday, he says. Oh, it's going to be sweet. We're going to celebrate together. We're going to... And then he asks Silver Fox, I was only gone for a little while. And it's as if he's carrying her body here in his kind of half-conscious, hallucinatory, discombobulated state. Who, how, why, he calls. And I like the way that Silvestri shows time going back to the past here, where he's almost walking into the past. So here he is in the present, in the storm drain tunnel, outlet tunnel, and here he is back in however long ago it was, walking in his bare feet in the snow with the body of his mistress Silver Fox dead in his arms. Why is she dead? And why am I still alive? So a really, really excellent page here. Great art, great storytelling, blending present and past by Silvestri. And then we pick up with LCD again, and she is horrified at the sight of these alligators, but she doesn't seem to notice this body in front of her. So she bends the bars on this little portal and steps over the body of none other than Sabretooth. So Sabretooth really around this time being built up to be Wolverine's #1 enemy, but someone that hasn't been seen in the title since issue number 10, the story referenced here, but here he is in the present. And why or how is he down here in the tunnels beneath Manhattan? Well, it all goes back to X-Force number 91, an issue that is referenced a little later in this particular story too. And so he's been down there recently, and it just so happens that LCD wakes him up here. And he hears the end of her dialogue. I thought Albert and Logan were the only ones with claws. Claws? He asks, Logan? No, Logan. So he's awake. And is it Logan's birthday in the present as well? Because Sabretooth's tradition, custom, is always to try and kill Logan on his birthday. So here we are back in the past with Logan carrying the dead body of Silver Fox to their shared home, and he's all confused in his first person narration. Wasn't no bear did this, was a man, had to be, a man with less heart in him than the lowliest beast, a man who enjoyed the hurting, a man who got off on the killing. Whoever he is, I want him, he's mine. So past and present blending. And then up above, we've got Forge in a public telephone kiosk calling in one of his markers. Jubilee all upset and wondering what's he doing to help. And Forge says to her, what do you think I'm doing? I just called in all my markers. Jubilee asking who. And we don't get the answer to who he's called in to help in the search for Logan in this particular issue. And then we have a scene switch again to the underworld beneath Manhattan, specifically Morlock Alley. And remember, in this period of continuity, Callisto, who's the usual leader of the Morlocks, is in has a how will I express it? A transformed appearance. She has the appearance of a beautiful woman, and she's living a happily ever after ending with Peter Nicholas, aka Colossus, who doesn't remember his life having come through the Siege Perilous as an X-Man. And the two of them are living very happily somewhere in Manhattan in this period. So Mask is the leader of the Morlocks at this time. And because of this huge storm and all the storm drains pouring into Morlock Alley, his people are asking him to help and come up with a plan. So his plan is to tell a couple of very strong Morlocks to go into the pipe room, turn all the pipes on so that all the water is redirected away from them, and redirect the flow from all the storm drains, redirect it all to the South Street outlet. So of course, who's there in the South Street outlet except for a very confused Wolverine? That's a great shot, 3/4 profile up shot on Mask. I would say that Silvestri enjoyed drawing that, and very well inked by Dan Green as well. And here we pick up with Logan in that South Street outlet, and he's looking, or he's kind of like seeing in the shadow on the wall. That's really subtle, that. So his own shadow on the wall he mistakes for Sabretooth. You killed her, you, because of course there is a physical resemblance somewhat between Wolverine and Sabretooth, and the big question that's been teased by Claremont in particular for years is whether that physical resemblance between the pair is a family resemblance, and we're going to get a putative answer to that in this particular issue. So Sabretooth is coming to, they're close enough that he can hear Logan. Sabretooth, you killed her, you killed her. And his response is, as he pulls himself out of the water, "She was an uppity squaw, Logan. She said no. Ah, it's good to hear your voice, Logan. Stirs up all them warm feelings inside me, warm like freshly spilled guts." And he laughs there with that big toothy grin on his face. And now we're flashing back again to events from Wolverine number 10. It's Wolverine's birthday, and Sabretooth in the past is telling Logan, "Yeah, I killed her. What of it, birthday boy? Oh, I almost forgot. I saved you a slice of birthday cake, mighty sweet and tasty," as he creepily licks some frosting off his little finger, just like he's about to say Silver Fox, I guess. But this woman gets in the way. "For pity's sake, Logan, she was just an Indian, and he's your this," he says. "My what?" is his response. "What are you to me, Sabretooth?" And here's the big reveal, and here's why this went to a second printing. "Don't you know, Logan boy, I'm your ever-loving daddy dearest." And Logan, very understandably, exclaims no, as we would expect. And then this is interesting. Story continues on page 19, because what's coming up next is that double page pin-up or mini poster by Mike Mignola, so get ready for that. But you can see here advertised X-Force number 1 coming out, X-Men number 1 coming out as well. That little drawing from the cover of Uncanny X-Men 275 by Jim Lee as well gives you a sense of the time period too. But a great anchor image there of Sabretooth leaping towards Wolverine by Silvestri. And here is that 2-page gallery pinup by Mike Mignola featuring Wolverine and Cable. And that is really, really nice stuff. It's excellent. And of course, a couple of things about Mike Mignola is the weight he gets into his characters and figures, and their poise as well in the particular poses he draws them in. And of course, in terms of the rendering, never ever any cross-hatching for Mignola. Always simplifying the figures. A really, really interesting composition here from Mignola, and I like the colouring choices too. Whoever coloured this, whether it's Glynis Oliver, whether it's somebody else, it's nicely coloured. Really, really eye-catching pin-up by Mignola. But then back to the story, page 19, and here we get the outcome of Sabretooth's leap towards Wolverine. He claws him across the face. "You gotta learn to have some respect for your old man, boy. I don't believe you," says an incredulous Wolverine. "Why would my own father kill my girl? Why would he try to kill me?" Sabretooth's response is chilling. "You just don't understand what makes me tick, do you, boy? Ain't nothing in the world makes me happier than to see you in pain. Let's you and me get down to some serious ripping and tearing." What a ferocious double-lit face there on Sabretooth. Really, really great stuff. Excellent stuff in the art. And yeah, what a prospective father for Wolverine. Kind of a reverse Oedipal complex where the father is intent on killing the son. And here, LCD, who's continuing her quest to find help. She hasn't found anyone so far. Here's the screams, the roars from where she came from, and asks there plaintively, "Logan?" And who's this in the foreground that she's about to run into? So she's promising Logan that she'll come back as soon as she can, and then bonk, she runs smack into this wall of a man. That's Cable. So nice to see Silvestri's version of Cable. We've seen by this point Jim Lee's in Extinction Agenda. He does a pretty good Cable. Rob Liefeld's, of course, is the paradigmatic Cable. And now we see Silvestri's. And Silvestri's Cable is not as hulking a figure. He is big, but he's not as hulking a figure as either Liefeld or Lee drew him. But he is completely armored up there. And basically, what does he say here? He says, "I heard there was a nasty piece of work alive down here who I thought was dead. Wouldn't do for a nice little girl like you to run into him, especially with this whole tunnel system due to get flooded out." So Cable is on the hunt for Sabretooth after those events in New Mutants. And this is happening in continuity between New Mutants 100 and X-Force #1. So this is what he's up to between the end of New Mutants and the beginning of X-Force. So LCD begging for Cable to help her friend, and Cable recognizing, you're a construct, your friend an android too? No, he's a real person. His name is Logan. So of course Cable recognizes who that is. Little smile on his face there as well. And then we're back to the ferocious fight between Sabretooth and Wolverine. And Wolverine referencing some recent continuity. I heard you got your back broke by Caliban, and that was in New Mutants 91. And what's Sabretooth's response? I'm a fast healer, boy. It's in the blood. So again, more statements to add to or corroborate the claim that Sabretooth is Logan's father, that they both share a family healing factor. And then comes the consequence of Mask's decision to flood or direct all of the overflow water to the South Street outlet. So we've got all the alligators and rats stampeding out before the water comes, and behind them, here it is, this big tidal wave almost of stormwater, and Mask here continuing his orders that everything be redirected to the South Street outlet, shunt all the water overflow through the causeway to Grate 23. So here they are getting pulled along by the water and still fighting. And Wolverine saying in his first person narration, he wants to rip apart everything in my life that's good. And there's the reasoning part of me that manages to get a word in every now and then, like live to fight another day. So Wolverine, not quite as bestial as Sabretooth. So he pulls himself up into this side tunnel. And he, in his first person narration, he says of Sabretooth, let him get swept down the drain. Let him drown. I don't care if I didn't tear the life out of him with my own hands. Dead is dead. But Sabretooth isn't gone. It's like a horror movie. So he slashes away at the leg of Logan's trousers there, pulling himself up into the side tunnel too. Here is Cable approaching with LCD. Hear that? Sounds like a lot of water moving real fast. Sounds like it's just on the other side of this wall. Meanwhile, the fight's continuing. Logan's pulling himself up away from the rising water towards this metal door. Mask here ordering that all the grates be closed, so there's no way out of the outlet for Wolverine and Sabretooth. So Wolverine, of course, has his adamantium claws, and he's slashing away at that metal door. Should be easy enough for him to get out. Cable here saying, now there's a familiar ripping and tearing sound. You don't suppose our mutual friend, Mr. Logan, is behind that door, do you, princess? So of course he's behind the door. Great spotting of blacks on these couple of pages as well, with the darkness in the tunnels beneath the streets. And here we are coming to the end of this issue. It's come up pretty quickly because, as I said at the beginning, there's only 18 pages of story in order to accommodate Silvestri fulfilling the bi-weekly schedule. So Forge and Jubilee here looking out at the East River, and Jubilee saying he's out there somewhere. Forge, I know it. It's been too long, Jubilee. Even Wolverine couldn't, but she's adamant he's alive. I can feel it. He got out of that bomber and he's just crawled off somewhere to lick his wounds. So Forge says, let's go, kid. We have to meet that friend of mine. So who is Forge's friend? Well, we'll find out in the next issue. And down, Jubilee asks, you don't think he's still under the river, do you? You were down there with me. The only body in that bomber was that Wolverine android. That's Albert. And what happens here is that Albert comes back online again. And as he does, this little fish is electrocuted. It's a really well drawn fish by Silvestri as well. And Albert, as I said, he's back online. And who's he interested in finding? Except for LCD, to be continued in the very next issue. And at the time, in only 2 weeks' time. And then we do get another pin-up. This one by RT Bear. And this is interesting because Art T-Bear for the previous couple of years has been inking Jim Lee and Whilce Portacio, and you can see the influence of both on his pencils there. It's an interesting composition. I don't think it's entirely successful. That little kind of teeny tiny Sabretooth there isn't really effective. I think if you want to draw Wolverine and Sabretooth, you got to give both of them, you know, some limelight on the page. But in any case, an interesting addition, pin-up addition to this issue. And then there are 2 pages of letters here, and the letters cover a wide range of issues, everything from issue 31, the first of Silvestri and Hama's run, all the way up to issue 38 is the latest one discussed. There's also a little advertisement there for the summer special, Reign of Terror, by Peter David and Andy Kubert. So we've got a little spot image of Kubert's art from that special edition. Not too bad at all. And there you go. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Wolverine number 41. This was incredibly popular at the time for that big reveal that, well, it seems that Sabretooth is Wolverine's father. But is that so? Wolverine is incredulous. He doesn't believe it. In the next issue, there's a definitive answer to Sabretooth's claim that he is Wolverine's father. And of course, Cable, very popular at the time too. All reasons why this went into a second edition with a gold logo or gold coloring of the logo to differentiate it from the first print edition. Let me know your thoughts on this issue. Were you excited to see Sabretooth up against Wolverine in the present in the title? What are your thoughts on the whole question of Sabretooth's being Wolverine's father or not? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like the video on YouTube. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.